Welcome to the Speechcraft Training 3, the Speechcraft for the evening, and it is November 15th. I am the Zoom host and the Speechcraft coordinator and the trainer for this evening, and our timer is Dr. Grace. Dr. Grace, would you please go over the timing for my presentation, which I believe is up to 14 minutes. Can you tell me what how that's going to go?
Certainly. Okay, at your time is 14 minutes. Okay, so at 12 minutes, I will show that.
Perfect.
And then at 13 minutes, I'm going to show you that.
Thank you.
And then at 14 minutes, you will see the red.
That's astonishing. That's the word of the day, by the way, for anybody. And after I do my presentation, Dr. Grace is going to come back and talk about the timing for our demo speaker. Thank you, Dr. Nadine, for volunteering to help us out. It looks like we've got Tiffany. Oh, she's not in our group. Maybe she'll come in our group. And Nadine, thank you so much for volunteering to be our demo speaker. I'm very excited. Sally is our evaluator and Isaac is our evaluator of the evaluator. But let's get started with the presentation. And I'm going to change my view. And
am I in the right room, Michelle?
Yes, you are, Deborah. You are in the right room. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
We are just about
Michelle, am I in the right room? This is Lexi.
You are in the right room, Lexi. Thank you for joining us. You're going to be doing the table topics. And I've just gone over who the other role players are. Dr. Grace is our timer. And I'm going to go ahead and begin. So, Dr. Grace, please go ahead and start to time me. And I'm curious, when it comes to public speaking, what is your biggest fear? And please go ahead and put that in the chat. What is your biggest fear when it comes to public speaking? Oh my gosh, nobody has any fears.
Oh, I do. I'm typing.
Okay, good. Go ahead and type in the chat, or you can raise your hand and just speak out and tell me, what is your biggest fear? Yes, Sally.
Going blank, forgetting the facts.
Exactly. Yes, that is one of the biggest. Anybody else? Let's see. Oh, I've got 5 new messages. Not being good enough, remembering my main points, forgetting, messing up, not connecting with the audience. Yes, 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 yes. My biggest fear was exactly that. Messing up, not connecting with the audience, freezing. And guess what? I realized that fear the first time I gave a speech. It's true. The first time I gave a speech was many, many years ago when I was in the process of creating my documentary, my documentary film on death. And I was invited to a presentation in Petaluma. It was a film group. My film was only 4 minutes long because it was my trailer. And they gave me a whole hour. I played my film. It was 4 minutes long. And then I stood up in front of the room and I went,
Oh, Jesus.
oh my goodness. The film was about death and I was interested. And then from the side of the room came this voice, Dr. Michelle, we didn't really expect you to entertain us the whole time. Why don't we just open up the group to questions? And that's what we did. And it worked great. I answered the questions. We had this lovely interaction. And for the next 12 years, That was the way I spoke. I shared my films, which eventually got longer. I had 30-minute films. I asked a few questions. I had some interaction with small groups where they broke out. And then we came back and we just shared. And that was what I thought public speaking was. Then I became a coach and I started taking classes, and I learned that there actually was a structure to speeches. And because I was a coach, the structure was how to persuade my audience to take action. And from there, I moved forward knowing how to give a speech. It was like the blinds were removed from my eyes. So I'm going to share with you tonight speech structure that will help you to feel more confident and less likely to forget what your main speech points are. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see? It says beginning, middle, and end. Yes?
Yes.
Great. The speech structure is as simple as that. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. And if you read what Toastmasters said, in the beginning, you say what you're going to talk about. In the middle, you talk about what you said you were going to talk about. At the end, you repeat and review what you talked about. And that's it. Well, not quite. What you want to do when you're creating the structure for your speech is first go with the end. I remember the first time I heard this. I was getting ready to give a big speech in front of a lot of people, like 40 people, and I was really nervous because it was a 20-minute speech and I was afraid I was going to forget things. And I talked to my coach, and I had the speech already written out, and she said, we have to start with the end. And pretty soon she had changed the whole structure of my speech. I said, what do you mean? I can't believe you're doing this. You're changing it. I can't remember. I can't learn this. And she said, if you're going to give a persuasive speech, you have to start at the end. What you want your audience to do. And then everything else follows from that. So I tell you, it is true. First, you have to ask yourself, what kind of speech are you giving? I was giving a persuasive speech, which most entrepreneurs are wanting to give. We want you to take action, buy our product, have a phone call with us. Everything has to follow from that, or everything has to lead to that, should I say. And very often you will notice that a lot of coaches, especially new ones, but even later ones, they forget to give themselves enough time at the end. Have you ever seen that? Yes? They forget to give time to give the offer. Why? Because we're terrified of giving the offer and we're happy with giving our data points. But when you structure it from the end, you give yourself the time, or you make sure that you have the time. In fact, I remember when my coach was working on it, she threw out most of the stuff I had. And she said, oh, we only need like 5 minutes for that. That was like my whole speech. And most of the speech was helping prepare people to receive the offer. Now, I've mentioned a couple of other kinds of speeches: informational, inspiring, and entertaining. And I'm going to go to my next slide, because what you really want to know about the end is, what do you want your audience to feel or do? In persuasive, you want them to take action, right? But in an informational speech, such as the information that I'm giving you right now, I might just want you to understand and be able to apply it. An inspirational speech, like we have in the International Speech Contest, we want to feel uplifted. In fact, if you've ever had an international speech competition person give you a call to action, I always feel a little yucky. I just want them to uplift me and allow me to make my own choice. And then finally, have a good time. So that would be an entertaining speech, like maybe somebody at a Comic Central, where they're just you're having a lot of fun. Then we go to the middle. So we start at the end. Isn't that astonishing? We start at the end and then we go to the middle. The middle is usually made up of 3 parts. And what those parts are depends on whether or not your structure is a story or informational. If you're telling a story, it would be chronological, right? You would start with the inciting incident, because you want this dramatic arc. Then you have the middle where there are some conflicts and difficulties. And then there's a culmination where your hero, which may be you, is almost ready to give up the ghost, and then a resolution, and then the ending, the happily ever after. But in information, you usually want 3 data points. Now, the first training that I had in how to be a persuasive speaker was about educational-based marketing. So the first 2 were kind of giveaways, give something to your audience. And the third one was to leave the people feeling like they really need to do this. And that's the purpose of informational, if it's persuasive. However, if it's just to give information, you don't have to have a call to action. So I want to give you, actually, it can be both story and information. And in fact, in Toastmasters, we encourage you to have a story as you're giving information. I want to give you an example. If you haven't seen Cynthia Stott's speech on humor, you want to see it, because this is a brilliant example of incorporating story with information, her story, how she arrived at developing her humor. And then she goes to the point where she talks about the coaching she does around how to give an international speech level speech. And, you know, she never made an offer, but in the end, everybody was asking her when her next free class was. So hers was a perfect example of how you incorporate all those things together. And I invite you to really examine it and analyze it. Now, I plan on giving my next speech on the styles of communication. And I'm going to give it in a story form, because I'm going to share with you how I progressed from being supportive, like I just shared with you in the beginning of the speech, to being more giving a direct or analytic kind of speech, and then putting them all together. So that's how you can use story and information together. We go to openings, which is where you think we should have started, but now we're coming to openings. Openings are essential to getting people engaged. And you want to do an opening that's going to grab people's attention and hold it. So for example, if any of you have saw James Jeffley's speech, what did he do? Well, James put a bunch of moving words on the screen, and Cynthia was in the background saying, James, please read it. And he didn't, because he wanted to make a point. And his point was that words by themselves only accounted for 7% of communication. That was startling. Now, there are other ways of opening. So how did I open this speech here? What did I do? I asked a question and I told a story. So those are other ways of getting the opening going. Another way is to give a statistic. I remember one time I was giving a speech on why you needed to prepare for your end of life. And I gave a statistic which had to do with how many people die in a year, as opposed to how many people are out there. The statistic was very small, but then I turned around and I said, actually, the real statistic is 100%. Every one of us die. We just don't know when. So that was how I used the statistic to wake people up. You can also use quotes, like one of my favorite quotes is from Marianne Williamson that says, our biggest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our biggest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure, which is a great message to start out a talk about an inspirational speech. And then in the opening, you also want to give them the plan for what you plan to talk about. So in my opening, I talked about 3 things: the beginning or opening, the middle, and the end. And that's what you want to remember. What is your beginning? What is your middle? And what is your end? And then finally, in the ending or the closing, you want to review what you talked about, because people lose track of what they're thinking about or what you're speaking about. And you want to give them one more chance to take away what you're doing. So for example, in this speech, I started making the point by, in structuring your speech, you want to start at the ending. You want to figure out what it is that you want to accomplish. Then the basic structure is beginning, middle, and end, but also you have 2 types of structure: storytelling and data points. And sometimes you combine them. And finally, engagement. Engagement is essential for getting your audience to listen, because if they're not listening, then you don't have an audience. And finally, I want to talk about bookends. When you start a speech in a particular way, it helps to end that way. So I started by a question: what's your biggest fear? My ending is, my question is, what do you think my goal was? What do you think I wanted my audience to get? And you can go ahead and put that in the chat. And I'm going to stop my screen share and open up to gallery view. Does anybody have any questions before we move on? And Grace, excellent timing. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Deborah.
So Michelle, so do you recommend starting the beginning with this? Oh, well, actually, I think you answered that. I was going to say a question at the beginning and the same question at the end.
Or I can tell
Or-
a story at the end, whatever you started with. If you do it, if you want to kind of like tap into what you said in the beginning so that it creates this full circle. Sometimes people try and engage. I remember a story where this presenter started with a video, and the video had nothing to do with what they were presenting about. You don't want that. You want it to be relevant. And also remember, I said 3 data points. People can remember 3. Don't come into a 7-minute speech trying to give 15 data points. People will not be able to remember them. 3, and there is a trick with how you deal with 3 data points where maybe you have a 4th. So I have these 4 superpowers of great human adventure. They're brilliance, which is what I call body, call spirit; body, which is the vehicle that we live in this life in; brain, which has got a mind of its own. But I have a 4th one, and the 4th one is community. So the other 3 are all who we are, and community is what surrounds us. So I actually use a graphic to help people do that, and that helps them to remember. So there are ways around that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does that help?
Yes.
All right, so now we're going to move to our demo speaker. And the demo speaker is Dr. Nadine James, and I would like our evaluator, Sally, to explain what the objectives of the speech are. You have that, Sally?
Yes.
Awesome.
Right. Oops, on the wrong page. Okay. Dr. Nadine James, Inspired Island Girl, a Perception of Mastery Level 1 project, evaluation and feedback number 2.
Awesome. And do you know what she's going to try and do in this? What she's trying to accomplish in this speech?
She's trying, I don't.
Okay, so what she's trying to do is, this is her number 2 in the evaluation and speech series. And so she wants to take the feedback she got from her first speech and incorporate it into this speech. So Dr. Nadine, Inspired Island Girl, Dr. Nadine, please come to the stage.
Just a minute. How much time do I have for this one?
You have 7 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, and thank you for asking. Dr. Grace, would you give her the timing cues of what they are?
Okay, at the
5 minutes?
5 minutes, you're gonna get this. 6 minutes, you get that. And then 7 minutes, you get that.
Okay.
Does that help? Are you got it now, Dr. Nadine?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
So it was about 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the morning of August 24th, 2020. I was on a prayer line and a call kept coming in. Initially, I declined the call and it came in again. I remember thinking to myself, my God, this person is so persistent. I answered the call the second time and found out it was my cousin Jackie calling from Jamaica to inform me that my father was unresponsive. I didn't know what to think. At the time, I just jumped back on the prayer line and I interjected and I said, I have an emergency. Please help me to pray for my father. After 30 minutes, my cousin called back again to inform me my father passed away. Of course, you can only imagine the turmoil I went through. My name is Dr. Nadine James. I am an innovative creator of transcendent lifelong learners who are passionate about pursuing careers in healthcare. My father, Noel, instilled in me at a young age that having an education was key. He was my cheerleader who encouraged me along with my mother that I could do anything I desired. As such, I decided to become a doctor. The path I took was to complete a Bachelor of Science in chemistry at Iona College. Here, my professors encouraged me to pursue a doctoral degree in oncology research versus a medical degree. The reason they did this was because I was the only senior who was doing research outside of the institution at the time. From there, I pursued a PhD in biophysics, and this was done at the first cancer institute in the nation, now known as Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center. As I went through this journey, there were times when I felt discouraged. And I remember on one such occasion, my father said to me, Deanie, the darkest part of night is just before day. Hang in there. For many years, I became a fierce advocate for education. My passion for education was instilled in me from a young child. This got reinforced while I studied in Buffalo, New York. Here, I was exposed to and appalled by the education that existed between inner city schools and schools in the suburbs. I made a promise to myself that I would bring resolve to close this divide. So, in collaboration with the University of Buffalo, I created a program called the Introduction to Cancer Biology. This was created under the auspices of Interdisciplinary Science and Engineering Partnership. This was done to improve the education in 12 struggling Buffalo public schools. Upon graduating with my PhD, I created a nonprofit called Illumination, which means illuminating the minds of the next generation. With over 10 years combined experience as the president and CEO of Illumination, assistant professor at Lehman College, and having teaching experience at SUNY Buffalo, SUNY Purchase, I uniquely position I'm uniquely positioned to bring my passion, experience, and creativity to transforming education in underserved and underrepresented communities. As the president and CEO of Illumination Inc., it's an organization created to steer children towards careers in healthcare. I collaborated with healthcare professionals, researchers, community leaders, parents, and the New York State Education Department to establish and implement the Human Body Exhibit and the Cancer Slancer program. To date, 6 of my students have declared that they would like to become healthcare professionals: an oncologist, a pathologist, a nurse practitioner, a medical doctor, an engineer, and an astronaut. I've also tutored and mentored a Chamberlain nursing student who increased her GPA by 100% and recently graduated with as a registered nurse with a President's Award. My proudest professional achievement has to do with engaging the students and watching them as they discover their brilliance. Recently, while working at Lehman to prepare prospective nursing students for the HESI preparatory exams, I decided I was going to set the exams harder and harder than at their level. One student, after we gave him the exam, he came out of the exam looking all battered, like, oh my God, this was not good. So I went out after him and I encouraged him and I said, look, don't take it that seriously. These exams were actually set harder than your level. It was set for those who have completed their degree in, it was set for those who actually completed their bachelor's in nursing and they're taking the NCLEX exam. So a few weeks later, the young man called back and said, Dr. James, I got 100 on anatomy, 88 on math, 88% on English comprehension, 97% on critical thinking, leaving me with an average of 95.86%. I was so shocked. I sat down. He is now in nursing school. It has also been fulfilling and therapeutic for me as I observed my 5 to 18-year-olds take our teaching of basic cancer biology and translate that playfully into visual and performing arts in terms of skits, songs, comic strips, cartoons, paintings, and drawings. In my experience, we learn more from them than they learn from us. These experiences, among others, have allowed me great career growth. And finally, as my father used to say, education is key. So it doesn't matter how old we are all lifelong learners. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nadine. So now our timer, would you please put a minute on the clock so that our evaluator has a chance to write down her notes? And Nadine, that was amazing. I'm so impressed with your background. I can't believe it. You are just astonishing.
Yeah, I messed up a lot compared to the last time though, but that's okay.
Hey, you did, you're just, it's not about, you learn more from your mistakes than you learn from your perfections. And you know what? I totally asked Kadisha to do an introduction for me and forgot because it wasn't on the agenda, so I forgot. So nobody knows who I am, right? I mean, some people know, but mostly, hopefully you know who I am by now. But this is the second time I've spoken and I've forgotten to give myself an introduction. So, and I didn't want to put it in my speech. By the way, you did an excellent job of giving yourself credibility throughout the whole speech. You were very impressive. You are 2 people entered waiting room. That's not me. Okay, Grace, have you time? Okay, great. All right, so let me see, what is our next? I think that we're going to go right to the evaluator. And our first evaluator is Sally Reyes. Sally, are you ready to go ahead and give Dr. Nadine her evaluation?
Okay. In the beginning, I'm a little confused by the title. I was fascinated by the amount of education and progress and speed of development, but I thought the title was a little vague. I just think that might have been different. I loved that she covered amazing information a little bit quickly because there were new words and I'm not sure what they were. I think it was immunization or something that sounded like that. So she has so much talent, education, and delivery. It's, I think, could be a little simpler because we want to get inspired by what you have done. And I'm a little overwhelmed by it was so complex. That's because I'm not that smart. But I love the fact that you grew up with a highly energetic family who brought you conscious of what you could do, what you could be, and how it was accomplished. I mean, that was inspirational and just overall, I loved it, but I relax and perhaps speak a little slower because you have such beautiful words and they're complex in their meaning. So I think just ease up a little bit because it's a wonderful speech and it's very inspirational. And your family has created wonders. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you very much. And I forgot to tell you how much, Dr. Grace, were you timing her or?
I was timing her.
Great.
I couldn't tell.
Okay. That was my fault. I forgot to remind you. So now you're going to be timing Isaac, who's going to be evaluating Sally. And would you go over what the timing is on that? Do you have it? It's 1:30, 1.5 and 2 minutes. You just quickly go so he knows what he's going to get.
Okay. Okay, in the 1 minute, she just said it. At the 1 minute, I will do the green.
Okay.
At 1.5, you get that. And then at 3, you get that.
Okay. So Isaac, you want to come and give us an evaluation of the evaluator? I know you're going to do a
Okay.
great job.
Okay, thank you. And Sally, excellent evaluation. You started with, I thought, the end, because I believe that you should have started off with the positive aspects of her speech, because she had great positive things about the story. She jumped right into the story. So I think that when you give an evaluation, it's good. You did a great job because you listened and you explained a lot of the things that could be suggested to do better. You paid attention, obviously, to what she was saying. And I like the fact, to me, you're honest. I like the fact that you say what you feel, which is great being an evaluator, is to express the feelings that you have. Overall, I would say, as an evaluator, you just want to give the positives first, and then the suggestions, and then the ending where you kind of recap on the positives and explain the suggestions, and end like you did with a positive note, because you ended on a positive note. So overall, I love your evaluation, and you're always expressive, Sally. That's what I like about you. You know, you have this excitement about whatever it is you're talking about. So that's a great quality to have. And overall, I thought the evaluation was good. And I just really was inspired by Nadine's story, though. I just thought that she gave a great speech. And I know I'm not supposed to evaluate the speaker, but I just thought overall, everybody did a great job. And Sally, excellent job. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
So Isaac, you can, as part of an example to Sally, give an example of what Nadine did right, so that you could say, you know, you could have really started out like I did, which is, oh my gosh, Dr. Nadine, I am so impressed by your background. It just blew me away. I had no idea that that was your background. So you just grab at anything that can start out as positive, because especially in the Speechcraft, we have new people and they are sensitive. And so we want to start out and always remember that sandwich method and recognize what they do. And of course, Sally, later on, you did mention positive things. You always want to start with the positive. By the way, your evaluations were spot on. Yeah, what was the relevance of her title? And also what she tells us in intense story about her father dying. How did that fit in? Where's the bookend there? Because that was the opening to come first circle. Dr. Nadine, you would want to somehow put that in at the end, how he inspired you or how he fit in.
Okay, so the inspired there, when Sally was giving her evaluation, she kept saying inspirational, inspirational. That's where inspired came from.
Yes.
Right? And my father's at the beginning, because he's the one who has inspired me to get to this level, even though he passed away last year. So right. He's there at the beginning, and then I'm speaking about him in the middle when I'm going through my studies and having my issues. So right. He's the one inspiring me throughout, and even to this day, the speech wasn't given as well as I would have liked. So that's that.
Hey, Dr. Nadine, you are amazing. And in fact, what you helped me to realize is there's a whole different way in which you give a speech. If you were trying to get people to contribute to some project you had, you really had the information there for people to understand that you were a doer and you accomplish things. So understanding what are you wanting your audience to take away? What is the call to action? And if you wanted to get people to support you, you really have it. You're muted. So.
Yeah, this one wasn't called to action, but I could use
You know what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what you could use that for. I'm just letting you know that that's where you could take that speech, because it's really wow. And I think that, Sally, you gave great suggestion about slowing down, because a lot of those words, depending on who you're speaking to, might not know that. So excellent job on all of your part. And Dr. Nadine, thank you so much for giving your speech and sharing it and being a demo speaker. That I know that's hard. It's like, whoa, there you are. So thank you. We all going to give her a round of applause. Thank you, Dr. Nadine. So next, I want to briefly go over what the next part of the project is. Now, some of you I know who are like Isaac and Dr. Grace, you're already in level 2. So this isn't going to affect you. And Deborah, I think you're also in the next level. Sally, I'm not sure where you are, but the next, in terms of the Speechcraft, the next thing that we are doing is the second speech, just like Dr. Nadine gave. And what do you want to do in the second speech? You want to take the evaluation that you got from your first speech, not your icebreaker, but your first speech in the second project, and incorporate that. So for example, my first speech, I was giving a persuasive speech, and I was a little weak in my call to action. So the evaluation I received was, you need to do a stronger call to action. So I gave a better call to action, but then I was a little weak on the final closing point, because after you give your call to action, you still need to do that bookend. You have to close it at the end. So that's what we're always looking for, is a way to improve. Every time we give a speech, we want to improve ourselves. Any questions about the next project? I think that probably with Nadine having finished hers, everybody else. Sally, where are you on your speeches? Do you have a second speech?
I'm not giving one.
Ever? Not tonight. I didn't mean tonight. What's your next speech?
At tonight, I don't know.
No. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, I just was checking. But if you're giving the second speech in level, the second project in level 1, that's what you need to do. And if you have any questions, I'm here. Otherwise, we're going to go and call Lexi up. Let me make sure that that's correct. Look at my thing here, my agenda. Yes, the table topics master, Lexi Bennett. Lexi, would you please come to the stage and be our table topics master?
Michelle, I'm a little bit confused. It seems like all the speeches are around all the pathways. I was not prepared to relate table topics, my table topics, to a pathway speech.
No, you
What
don't
I
need
know
to.
about-
Lexi, you don't need to. Just give your table topics. This is a whole different part. You don't have to relate to the table topic, to the pathways at all.
Okay,
Just go
Oh.
for it.
okay.
You can include astonishing in the agenda. That's the word of the day. That would be great. Astonish us. Go for it.
Yes, I am an astonishing table topics master.
All right.
So I would like to know who would like to go first on this candid list of people that we've heard tonight. Who would like to go first?
We've got a Deborah. She's got her hand up.
Oh, Deborah. Okay, just 1 minute. Because I just got a little bit confused, but I'm ready. Just give me 1 minute, and I'll be able to give you one right now. Now I don't know who is Deborah.
Deborah Weiner. She's got her
How
hand up.
many minutes is this?
Oh, thank you. Yes, Grace. Good question. Grace is our timer, and it's 2 minutes long. So it's 1 minute, 1.5, and 2, just like you had for Isaac.
Okay,
Everybody
Okay,
who does
Deborah.
their speech, make sure to look at Grace.
Okay, Deborah Weiner. Oh yes, I saw her earlier. Okay, Miss Deborah Weiner, I have a great question for you.
okay.
And I know that you're going to have an astonishing answer for me. Right, Deborah Weiner? Deborah Weiner, if you could instill one piece of advice to a newborn baby's mind, what astonishing advice would you give? Deborah Weiner, please take it away.
If I was giving advice to a newborn baby, it would be to know that what you feel is real, and that is your intuition. What you feel is important, and that you are important, and to always follow your intuition, and don't let anyone tell you that what you're feeling is not right or not real, or that you're not able to feel what you're feeling. But your feelings are your intuition, and your intuition will guide you in life and help you make the right decisions. To always don't let anyone take away your innocence, which is in no sense. Innocence is also part of your senses and your feelings, and it's your intuition. So don't let anyone ever take away your innocence or your intuition, to follow your gut or your feelings, because that's your GPS system. It's your guiding light in life, and to always hold on to that, because it's sacred.
Thank you, Deborah.
Yes.
I know you must have some astonishing children, because that was really, really wonderful advice. Do I pick the next person or do we have a volunteer? Okay. We could have any.
You
of
were
the
muted,
people that-
Michelle.
Anybody volunteering? You all read my lips. We have a volunteer. Does somebody want to do table topics?
Can I volunteer, Kadisha?
Yeah, Kadisha, would you like to volunteer? We want to volunteer you.
Sure, I accept.
Excellent. Okay, Lexi, you got Kadisha.
Okay, Kadisha, in your life, when you go through the changes in your life, what sort of things makes you smile on a daily basis? Kadisha, please take it away and tell us what astonishes you and what makes you smile.
Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, that's an excellent question, Lexi. Things change in our world, like you said, but there should be something that makes us smile every day. What makes me smile every day is my faith in God. That keeps me smiling when things seem difficult, when things are also beautiful and easy. You know, no matter what's going on in my life, my faith keeps me balanced. Yesterday, I had to give a presentation. I'm a Toastmaster, and so folks, I guess, call on me sometimes to give a presentation. And for the life of me, that particular audience, I just kept on feeling anxious about that particular audience. It was not a Toastmasters audience. And I tried to put my speech together. I thought about the end in mind, the purpose of my speech, the time limit I had, and I put something together, but I wasn't completely happy with it. Nonetheless, I told myself I'm going to smile through the process, and I did. And at the end, when I felt like I did not accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, I still smiled, because I know I'll get better the more I do it. And also I know someone got something from the message I shared, whether good or bad, I just smile. Thank you for that question, Lexi. Over to you.
Wow, how timely and how astonishing that you could come up with that. I know what you mean. I'm working on the speech myself, and it's probably one of the most difficult things I'm going through. Okay, would Isaac like to take the next one, or do I have another volunteer?
Well, I would like to volunteer Grace, and I'll do the timing because she hasn't spoken.
You say you would like to volunteer Grace?
Yes, Grace, would you like to do the next one?
I feel like I've been voluntold. I guess I've got to do that.
You've been nominated.
Yeah, just a
Okay.
suggestion.
It's okay. I take it. Thank you.
Grace, you've given us some beautiful, astonishing words today. I want to ask you a really good question. Grace, what has made you extremely happy this year that you just can't believe something like that could make you so happy and took away everything in your life that was not astonishing to you? So can you tell us what has made you so happy in the last 6 months to a year? Please take it away, Grace. You got it.
Thank you. Well, there are a lot of things that made me so happy this year. So it's rather difficult for me to isolate one particular thing. But however, for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to say that it's the health of my children. I have two children who suffer from asthma, and I have been very fortunate and very blessed in that we have managed to keep them at home, and they have not had a single asthma attack this year, which is contrary to the way they normally, their bodies usually respond. We have managed to stay clear of COVID-19, which was a big worry for us, because if you have a child or someone you love who has respiratory condition, for them to get COVID would be devastating. And so I'm very grateful to God for keeping my children safe, for keeping us and giving us the wisdom to be able to look after them and to educate them, gives them, because we are homeschooling them and not sending them off to school somewhere. So we've been able to manage to homeschool them, also keep up with our own work and with everything that we need to do. So I'm just so grateful and so happy that we have been able to do these things, and really thank God for the blessing of our children. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much. What an astonishing talk and blessing you just gave us. Thank you very much, Grace. So, Michelle, am I done?
You are done. And Lexi, what a job, an astonishing job you did. And what great talks, what great table topics talks. You really knocked it out of the park. I am so impressed. And your speakers, each one of them really gave great answers. So I actually feel like that was the highlight. I also really loved what Nadine shared with us. I'm so glad that you shared all of your experience.
That's okay, Michelle. I don't have anything about you saying it was the highlight. That's okay.
Well, I'm even putting them in. They were so heartfelt, and so authentic, and that's part of our lesson in giving speeches, is how to learn to be heartfelt and authentic, even as we're giving concrete credibility and information about ourselves. It is one of our objectives. And Grace, she's only been in Toastmasters a short while, and Grace, your speeches have changed so much. It's so exciting to see how you have just.
I enjoyed your speeches.
Really beautiful.
Thank you.
So we have about a few more minutes. We can go back, but I wondered if anybody had any other comments they would like to make or anything.
I have one comment I'd like to make.
Yeah.
I'm working on a speech that's been very, very, very difficult for me. And I just appreciate the words that you gave today, Michelle, about giving a speech, how you do it going backwards to going forwards. I never even thought of doing that, but I'm definitely going to put that in my notes tonight about how to give a speech better.
It's kind of like standing on your head. It really makes you think about your speech in a very different way when you think about the end first and then look back and see, well, how did I get there? And most of that's in the middle. And then the beginning is just, how are you grabbing people's attention? And then you have an understanding of how that works. Yes, Kadisha.
I agree with Lexi that your presentation made it so easy to understand the structure, Michelle. And I liked, in particular, like the bookend part of it, where you start with an opening question, or however you start, that's how you bookend it. I thought that was clear to me tonight. And I liked how you modeled it for us. You had your opening question for us, drew us in, and then you gave a story that related to the opening question. And then at the end, you bookended it. That was well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Kadisha, I really
very
apologize for not having you do my introduction, not only because I didn't get an introduction, but because I had made you go and read that. And then I forgot to do that. I apologize. I don't think I'll ever get that. So great talk for everyone. Let's see, was there any other? I did see, Khadijah, that you put down that the purpose was to inform the audience about how to structure a speech. Yes, that's right. It was inform and help them to apply that, if possible, to their speeches. And any other final comments? Because then we can send you back into the main room. We can go back early and listen to the rest of it. This was just an amazing group. And I will send out, if you want to take a look at I will send out links to the recording. And Grace asked for the recording of Cynthia, and I will try and find that link and send it out to you if you want to see it. It's really amazing what she did. Yes, you would like it also? Yes, Khadijah?
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. That was very informative.
Oh, sorry. Let's see.
Sorry.
Great job, Michelle.
Thank you, Sally. Khadijah?
Really.
Thank you.
What did you want to say, Khadijah?
You mentioned a quote by Mary. I didn't catch her last name.
Oh, Marianne Williamson. She was one of the people who ran for president last year.
Oh, okay.
She was like way out there, right? But she was awesome. And her quote was, our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Yes,
know,
I do remember that.
I
do
have
remember
heard that quote in a couple of movies, and I've always wondered where it had come from. Coach Carter, they quoted that, and I think Zila and the Bee or Aquila and the Bee, they quoted that quote. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But Michelle, I love the way you run this group.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
You really do bring the best out of everyone. So
Thank you.
I would just definitely like that, the way you run the meetings.
Thank you so much,
I
Isaac.
second that.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Grace. My fan club, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Lexi, lovely. It was really a pleasure to have you. You just as really astonishing what you did with the table topics. It was really, really awesome. And thank you, Sally, for stepping up there and giving your evaluation. And I don't know what happened to Dr. Nadine. I hope we didn't scare her away.
I probably scared her off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was really good.
No, you really made excellent points, Sally.
You did.
You know,
I
But
was so overwhelmed. I couldn't hardly keep all this information together.
it's what you said, and it is a learning curve. How you have to start with something positive first. And boy, I learned that when I was working with a group of teenagers in a group home out on the Navajo reservation. You had to start with something positive or you would get major blowback. And that's how you learn it.
Good.
You learn it the hard way. Love you
Yeah.
all. We'll see you next time when you're giving, some of you are going to be giving speeches in a breakout group. I'll be seeing you, Grace and Isaac, on, I guess it's December 6th. I believe it's December 6th. You're going to be giving your speeches. And Khadijah, thank you so much for your support and being here. And Deborah, thank you so much for you doing the table topics. You were great. Just amazing.
Thank you.
How your speeches have transformed. So
Thank
I
you.
think if it's Grace, you were supposed to give timing. Do you want to give timing real quick?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna go backwards.
Okay.
Because some of I accidentally deleted something, but Khadijah, you went 1 minute and 46 seconds. Deborah, 1 minute and 51 seconds. And then who went before you, before Deborah?
Khadijah, Deborah,
One went.
you went.
I mean, before me.
Isaac, what did Grace have? How
Before
much?
me.
Oh, well, I just know she made her time. I
Okay.
didn't
You made your
write it
time,
down.
Grace. And then before that, we had
Yeah, the
Isaac.
one who went before me, was just a minute after the time.
Okay,
Okay, and then the one before that was 20 seconds. No, sorry, let's start again. I mean, it's not a minute, a second above
okay,
the time.
1 second. Oh, I'm
And then-
thinking, whoa.
And then the one before that was
What was my
20,
timing?
the
What was-
other one was 20 seconds before the timing ended.
Oh, okay, that might have been Sally, and that might have been Isaac was 1 second over. I think that's right. And how did Dr. Nadine do?
She was 20 seconds before the time.
Oh, okay. Okay, so thank you very much. It's good practice to give the timing. I appreciate you for taking the time. And back to the main room. See you all. Have a great holiday. If I
You
don't
too.
see
Thank
you
you so
before
much.
that.
Have
All
a
right,
good one.
bye-bye.
Take care.
And it's
Bye.
my birthday
Oh, happy birthday, Sally.
Happy birthday.
Happy
on
birthday.
Sunday. Thank you.
Do you know how to get away? Make sure to click leave the breakout room, not leave the meeting, so you can get back into the main room. Do you see that on the right hand, lower right hand? Okay, Deborah?
Where is it? I'm not seeing that little red leave
On the-
sign.
It should be on, are you on a computer?
Yes, I am.
Should be on your, it's not red, it's blue, and it should be in your far right corner, bottom.
Interesting.
You don't see it. You might pull your screen out a little bit and see if it pops up. I'm gonna
There,
leave.
oh, I see it now. Okay,
Awesome.
okay.
Okay,
See you.
Deborah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.